Okay, we're not recording.
Good evening, everyone. It is 6:08 on Tuesday evening. The steering committee for the South Sacramento Florin Road meeting number 24 is called to order. This meeting is being recorded. So we will, Janice, do you want to go to the welcome slide or do you want me to go straight to welcome and introduction?
You can go straight to welcome. We'll leave it there.
Okay, so we will do a roll call quickly of our members.
Do you want me to do that?
Yes, please.
All right. This is the roll call. Bishop Chris Baker, are you present? Jesus Cervantes, let us know if you're present. Hyen Chan, are you present?
Present, Hien.
Ian, I'm saying.
I know. Thank you.
Girl, I've said it 3 different ways tonight. Okay.
Thank
Ian.
you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Rhonda Henderson, are you present? Tito Huang, are you present? Gary Johansson, are you present?
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you. Bill Knowlton?
Here.
John Rice, are you present? Patricia Shelby, I'm here. Vincent Valdez?
Here.
Stephanie Williams? Not here at this time. We do not have a quorum.
I'm here, Pat.
All right. Stephanie, you are here?
Yep.
All
Yes,
right.
I am. I was trying to unmute myself.
Okay, sorry. That makes us have a quorum. Thank you.
We do have a quorum.
All right. Go ahead, Bill.
So Janice, do you want to do roll for the Sac Metro District staff?
Sure. Dr. Alberto Ayala,
Present.
Mark Lautzenheiser,
Present.
Amy Roberts,
Present.
Jaime Lemus,
Present.
David Yang,
Present.
Marina Franceschi,
Present.
Jamie Arno,
I am here.
Rafe Porter,
Here.
and Director Mai Vang.
I'm here.
Yeah.
And then I have CARB staff, Karen Buckley,
Hi, everybody.
Samar Lichtenstein,
Hello, I'm here.
Dave Ridley. Karen, did you want to introduce the new OCAP director?
Sure. I am very happy to let you all know that we have a new director in the Office of Community Air Protection here at CARB, and her name is Deldy Reyes, and she is on the line with us, and she's just going to say hi really quick.
I am. We're so formal. Thank you, Karen. I moved to Sacramento a few years ago, never have looked back. I moved from West Oakland. Very happy to be here. And I am in my 4th week as the director of the Office of Community Air Protection under Chanel Fletcher, who's the new Deputy Executive Officer for Environmental Justice at CARB.
Well,
Welcome.
welcome to our meeting, and
Thank
we
you.
are just thrilled to have you. So thank you for joining us.
Did I already call our facilitator,
No.
Ariel and Brewster?
Hi, I'm here.
Okay.
All right. So what we'd like to do, since we have a new member and special guest, we would like to introduce Councilmember Mai Vang and get some thoughts and some introduction. So please, Councilmember.
Council member and new director on the board of the Air Resources Board. Am I correct?
Yes,
Air-
yes, yes.
Okay.
So I'll keep this short, but I'm really grateful. Thank you so much for allowing me to join the steering committee. Super busy, but wanted to make sure. I saw this on Twitter, and I saw that the Air District posted this up. I'm like, I need to go to this meeting. Put it on my calendar. But really, just wanted to be here in support and thank all of you just for your tireless efforts. It is 6 o'clock in the evening, and you could be doing something else, but you're choosing to spend your time to serve on the steering committee, which is incredibly important, especially for our disadvantaged community, an area that I represent. And I just want to take this moment actually to thank all of you for using your time to serve, and because we need your voices and we need you to be part of this process. So I just wanted to say thank you so much. I am, like Pat Shelby shared, really grateful that the mayor and his team and folks have appointed me to the Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Management District. I've already hit the ground running, working with Roberto as well. And actually, even, this Thursday, I'm going to be at the California Air Resource Board, speaking my truth and really, fighting for more resources for our communities. And so I want to say thank you so much. I'm going to stay on just for another 10 minutes or so, and I got to jump off for another call, but wanted to be here to say I support y'all, and I'm really here to be a resource for all of you. And actually, I'm here to also listen and tap in, because you are the eyes and ears on the ground, and you can inform me about what we need to do to really move this community forward. So I just wanted to say hello, thank you. It is February. I keep saying it's Happy New Year. Okay, it is a new year. And again, thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for spending some time with us today. And we know your schedule is beyond hectic, so thank you so much. All right, Janice, do you want to move up to where everybody can see and hear as needed?
Yes, do you guys all see my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, all right. So let's move this slide. Here's our agenda slide.
okay.
Okay.
We've done our welcome.
Ariel, I think you're on.
Great. Okay, so just to review what we've got a chock full schedule today. So we'll be hearing from the district, and then we will hear from Valley Vision, and they'll share a little bit about their community air grant. And then one of our major topics is the charter amendment discussion. Hear from the steering committee, get public comment, and then look at whether the steering committee would like to adopt at this point. Then we have the annual co-lead nominations and elections is called for in the draft charter. And then the district has a pretty major presentation on the community air monitoring data that's been collected so far by the monitoring program that you all have put into place. Then we would be talking about a monitoring plan outreach subgroup. Then there's a new business and future agenda topics item for the steering committee to talk about potential new items, and then general public comment, and then hopefully get you out at 8 o'clock. And I will quickly review the code of conduct. The charter that would be under consideration today adapts that a bit. So all members agree to communicate openly and directly, be courteous, listen attentively, and be respectful of different points of view. It's helpful if you all are flexible, open to change and new ideas, so you all can find avenues of agreement between your different perspectives, and to assume the positive intention of others, be solution focused, seeking opportunities and looking at challenges and possibilities, and not dwelling on the past or roadblocks, and striving for consensus. And lastly, the members are asked to agree to make decisions based on what's best for the children and the families in the community, and not on personal agendas. Okay, and I am tracking action items, and we have what's called a parking lot. So if folks raise items on that are new, that are not on the agenda, we will keep track of them for potential future items. And with that, I'm turning it over to Marina to orient everyone to the Zoom.
Hi, my name is Marina Franceschi with the Air District. So I'm just gonna run through some logistics here for us tonight. We have staff available to help if you have any technology issues. Please email ab617clerk@airquality.org and someone will contact you. You can also message the host or the co-host in the chat box if you're having any technical issues or any audio trouble. For agenda items that have steering committee discussion, the chairs will announce the format of the discussion. So if it's round robin, the chairs will call upon each member one by one to participate. After each member has spoken, then you're welcome to please raise your virtual hand if you have additional comments. For any other discussion format besides round robin, please just raise your virtual hand. For the public comment period, if you'd like to speak, please raise your virtual hand there as well. To do so, if you're on the computer, it'll depend on the version of Zoom that you have. If you're using an older version of Zoom, it'll be under the participant icon at the bottom of the screen, and then you'll see a list of participants pop up. At the bottom, there should be a raise hand button. If you have a newer version of Zoom, there should be a reactions button on your lower right-hand side, and there should be a raise hand button there as well. And then you'll see next to your name, a little hand will pop up. If you're calling in from the phone, please press *9 and you'll get a message that your hand is raised and to wait to be called upon. When you're called upon, please unmute yourself by clicking on the microphone icon on the lower left of the Zoom app on the computer. If you're calling in on the phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. If you're using both computer and telephone, as some people have to do, you may have to unmute yourself on both. You can also email any comments to that same email, ab617clerk@airquality.org during the public comment period, and staff will read it out to the committee. And a quick reminder for steering committee members, you are not required to have your camera on if you're concerned about privacy or having your home visible in a public meeting. This meeting is recorded, both audio and video, and will be posted online. So that concludes all our logistics for tonight, and I'll pass that on to the chairs.
Thank you, Marina. So the previous meeting notes were sent in your packet. We would entertain a motion to accept.
I move that we accept the meeting notes.
We have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
Second.
Bishop, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Abstentions for absence? Motion carries unanimously.
And
Okay.
Vincent had his hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry. Vincent?
Yes. I was
Yes.
wondering, the questions that we asked during the meeting, do they get added to the minutes?
If you bring up a question during the meeting, yes, it's in the minutes.
I didn't see my question to the county person doing the presentation on whether or not any of their cool projects are within our boundaries of our AB 617 community.
Okay, we will add that to the minutes.
Also, Bill, this is Janice. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Also, because we are recording the videos now and posting them online, we are going to, if you haven't noticed, we have shortened the minutes than we had previously before we were recording them. So just to let folks know that it is being recorded and posted as well, the video.
Okay.
So Vincent, would you like us to add that line in there that you brought this up?
Yes, thank you.
All right, so we will amend the minutes to that point. Thank you, Vincent. Okay, Mark?
Mark, you are on mute.
Sorry, I got the message saying you're muted. Fortunately, because my microphone picked up my voice, but then nothing was going through. Thank you, though. I want to just give everyone a very quick update on stipends. So as the committee knows, when we first started talking about stipends back in the summer, we made that retroactive for 2020, but that did go through just through 2020. And we said that we'd then be able to revisit this later this spring, summer when we were budgeting for the following year. That is still true that we're going to, the next year going from July forward, we'll build into the budget. But we did want to let the committee members know that we are going to go ahead and do the stipends right now, basically January through June, rather than worrying about doing something retroactive again. We just want to basically recognize the importance and the value of all of your time and our appreciation of what you are doing in terms of your commitment to this committee. Our future commitment, of course, still depends a lot on what resources do come from the state, but we didn't want to have you wondering what's going on for the next 6 months and then trying to do something retroactive again. So we will be initiating that as we were doing it for the last few months of 2020. We are also going to make a small adjustment in a positive way. And at least for the next 6 months, we are going to adjust that to $100 a meeting as opposed to the $75 that we were doing for 2020. And then again, we will revisit this as we get more budget information on what funding we do have going forward. But again, we just want to recognize and appreciate all the time that everyone here in the committee is putting in.
Thank you, Mark.
And with that, though, I will quickly then turn it over to Rafe Porter with the district, who is going to be a very quick update on an upcoming summit.
Good evening, everyone. There's a lot going on this slide, so I want to call your attention right to the middle, the big date of March 30th. On that date, we're going to be having the Climate Justice and Jobs Summit, which is co-hosted with the Air District, as well as Councilmember Guetta, who is also the chair of the Air District Board. This meeting will run from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. on March 30th. The main goal of this is also captured in the middle there, which we see a great opportunity with the new federal administration to really align our region for federal, state, and local resources related to climate impacts. Specifically, we're going to be addressing not only what are those impacts from climate into the three areas that you see on the right, but really how does that impact jobs? And then how can we as a region create an equitable pipeline to these jobs? We're going to be focusing in three areas in the summit: climate smart agriculture, the built environment, and mobility. And we're going to be looking again at what are the impacts there and how do we make sure that we're creating an equitable pipeline to green jobs that are going to be coming, that are here now really, and are going to be coming in the future. We're going to have community-based organizations. We're going to have elected officials. We're going to have leaders within each of these three buckets or these three areas talking about all of these things. We really hope to engage as many people as we possibly can. I saw that somebody put in the chat the links that are down there at the bottom. That first one was just a link to the summit page where you can get a little bit more information. And the bottom one is a registration link, and registration is free. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or put a question in chat. I will put my email address in the chat as well if you want to reach out to me directly there. And I will stop there, and I can take any questions now. Otherwise, I'll turn it back over to Mark. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rafe.
Just noted, we have a couple new steering committee members who've joined, or Rhonda Henderson, and then Bishop Chris Baker did give a second, but just wanted to call out that both of those people are here.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
So Mark, is Jaime going to give a report on Climate Justice and Job Summit as well, or no? Or did we cover that already?
We covered that already.
Yeah,
Rafe was giving
there's
it.
no more to that. Okay, got it. All right. Pat, I believe you're on.
All right. I am happy to, well, first I have to check. Adrian, are you here?
I am.
Very good. All right. I did want to introduce you and you not be on. I'm happy to introduce Adrian Wren, who is the project leader with Valley Vision of Sacramento Neighborhood, Valley Visions. Sacramento Neighborhoods Activating on Air Quality Project. Is that pronounced SNAC, your acronym?
It's a great acronym, isn't it?
Yeah, that makes me hungry. And he's going to tell us a little bit about what they're doing and how we might be able to support them. Go ahead, Adrian.
Well, thanks so much, Pat, and others on the steering committee for inviting me. I'm super excited to share more about the Sacramento Neighborhoods Activating on Air Quality project. Again, SNAC, that was my choice of acronym. But first I want to give just a little bit of background about sort of Valley Vision's work in AB 617 up to this point. And again, Valley Vision is an Oak Park-based nonprofit, but we really serve the whole 6-county Sacramento region, working on things like broadband deployment in disadvantaged communities, workforce development, and of course, advocating for clean air. And through another project that we work on called the Cleaner Air Partnership, which is a public-private partnership of regulators, business folks, and environmental advocates who work together on clean air advocacy. We started to work on AB 617 actually back in late 2017, and led a pretty big advocacy effort around trying to ensure that South Sacramento Florin was included in the initial round of AB 617 communities. We actually organized and hosted 53 in-person meetings. Remember in-person meetings? We had 53 of those back in 2018 with state legislators, CARB board members, and senior staff to make our case for our region's inclusion in the community air protection program. So since that effort, we've been very involved in AB 617, trying to attend as many of you guys' meetings as possible, and just trying to listen and learn as much as we can. And so when the opportunity presented itself for us to apply for the Community Air Grant Program, which is another pot of funding that's part of AB 617, that's really to build capacity in AB 617 formal communities or informal communities, we wanted to apply, and we were ultimately successful in submitting an application along with Walk Sacramento, Breathe California Sacramento Region, and Green Tech Education. So us 4 nonprofits have been working since last year on this new effort, and it's an independent effort. I know the Air District's logo is in there. They're offering technical assistance to us and being very helpful. Really appreciate their support. But really, this effort is focused on doing AB 617 groundwork in 2 other neighborhoods, in North Sacramento, Norwood, as well as Oak Park, which are 2 other frontline communities. And the work really consists of deploying air monitoring networks alongside residents in each of those 2 communities, working with them on education so they understand the impacts of air quality on their health, and then, of course, working with them on a plan to reduce exposure to air pollution. Next slide, please. So here are just some of the components of the project. We actually just finished hosting 4 listening sessions in January. These were public listening sessions that had live translation in English, Spanish, Vietnamese, and Hmong. Again, we're trying to reach as many folks as we can in the North Sac and Oak Park areas. So we have a survey out open through March 7th, where we're actually taking in even more feedback. The purpose of those listening sessions was to try to get resident input on siting the 20 monitors that we're deploying through this project. But this survey is trying to collect some additional input. And that'll be open through March 7th. I'll have a slide at the very end where you can actually share that URL. We really appreciate it if you're able to. And then, ultimately we'll have public data portal once the monitors are deployed, so that folks can see block by block what the effects, how air quality is in their neighborhoods. And then ultimately we're working toward a community air action plan at the end of the project. Next slide, please. I'm sorry, I'm going fast. So here's a map of the 2 project areas. Again, 20 monitors spread across both. And on the right side, you'll see just some of the specs for the Clarity Node S monitors that we have funding to deploy. They're solar powered, and we do plan to co-locate them at CARB for 4 weeks, just to ensure that high quality data. And you can read more about the monitors on the Clarity website. Next slide, please. And we have a project advisory committee that's a really central piece of our project. And this consists of both community members in both of these areas, as well as technical experts. And the idea here is that we can bounce ideas off of this pack, have them, basically like oversee parts of the project. And really their job is to tell us when we're wrong. So for example, if we're drafting a 1-pager, we'll send it to this committee, which includes, EJ folks, youth, residents, as well as air monitoring experts and public health experts and others. And these folks the idea is that they can really help us hone down some of the language and simplify it, but also make sure that it's technically accurate, because you really want to have both when you're doing outreach and engagement. Next slide, please. And then there's just some other components of the project that we're excited about. There's others on this call who are with CARB and who have, can speak a lot better than I can about some of the conversations that are ongoing around upgrading and revising the Air AB 617 blueprint that we're all sort of adhering to in our work. But those conversations have really inspired us to adopt some of the best practices that we're seeing in other parts of the state and, of course, here in Sacramento. We already talked about stipends. We're offering community members that participate on our PAC or in our neighborhood coalitions $75 per meeting, again, to reward them for their time. But also clarity is key. So we're trying to ensure that there's memorandums of understanding and charter agreements with our advisory group as well as the residents we're working with, just so that that clarity is there and roles and responsibilities are understood. Of course, all of our outreach is done in those 4 languages, English, Spanish, Vietnamese, and Hmong, to reach as many folks as we can. And then we have an online landing page on the valleyvision.org website that we update frequently. You can find maps, you can find our survey, you can find the composition of our PAC, you can find up-to-date information about the project there. And of course, we want to be as transparent as possible. Our listening sessions are public. I send off regular monthly email updates to folks that I know are interested in AB 617, advocates and others. Would love to add our new steering committee members to that. And that's just part of trying to ensure transparency and trust. Next slide, please. And here are the next steps and how you can be helpful in our work to try to elevate environmental justice in these 2 other neighborhoods. So we have that survey out through March 7th. Again, the neighborhood coalitions are the residents who are going to express interest through that survey in being the folks that determine where the monitors go in their communities. We're working to co-locate those monitors to ensure data quality and then deploy them again in locations determined by the neighborhood coalitions, the paid residents who participate in our process. After that, we have plans. Actually, Breathe California is going to lead an educational component just to make sure that folks understand how to read the air monitoring data that's coming out of the monitors, and also other aspects of environmental justice and public health. Of course, that's an important component of this. And then Walk Sacramento, our other partner, is going to be leading workshops once that education is in place to ultimately to work toward an air quality action plan to be completed by the end of the project in March 2022. We also have some funding for a hackathon where we hope to invite in some technology experts to come in and work with residents on some potential technology related solutions. Again, we don't want to be prescriptive with what that might be because we're really looking to the community here to tell us what their priorities are. You can also read more about the project, as I said, on the Valley Vision website. And I think if you go to the next slide, it's my final slide. And it has my contact info. And I do see a question in chat, but I'll let you guys run the Q&A. Thank you.
Chairs, where are we on time on this? Do we have time for Q&A?
Yeah, well, both the chairs unmute. I think we're actually already a little bit past the time we had allotted for this. So maybe if there are questions, Adrian, if you could go ahead and take a moment, respond to any of the questions in the chat, and then people, of course, have your contact information.
Right, and that's what I was going to suggest. I'm sorry, we are on mute. Adrian, thank you, but we have run a little long. So please, everyone, if you put those questions in to chat, Adrian, if you could respond to those, and we have your contact information as well. Thank you, Adrian. Great work.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right. So next on our agenda is the charter amendment. Stephanie, Pat, and Bishop.
All right. Everyone got a hard copy of the charter amendments, I believe. And I did, I was able to have some one-on-one conversations with folks to get some feedback, which was very helpful. And the district, I had asked the district to also email you the track changes to show where we had made the amendments with that, and the issue of excuse me, the issues of what changes had taken place, what comments had been made, and where how we develop the final language. So Stephanie, are there any other things that you wanted to mention about this process?
No, nothing else that I need that I want to add. I think we kind of went over it unless we have questions from our members.
And I see Vincent has a hand raised when you're ready for moving to discussion.
Let's go ahead and go into discussion.
Have we adopted the charter already?
No, Vincent.
And are we implementing some of these procedures already?
So, Pat, if I may real quick, there was the original charter, Vincent, that the committee did agree to back 2 years ago. So there is that charter in place, but the amendments are up to the committee at this time.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that we had started acting on, Vincent, was when we talked about the expansion of the size of the committee and our recruitment. That we had as a group decided to move that portion forward. Otherwise, no. The rest of it was waiting for the adoption of the document.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yes.
Any other steering committee members have thoughts, questions, anything else you all would like to add or raise?
I would like to say thank you to Stephanie and Pat and Bishop. This was huge amount of work and took a lot of time and a lot of effort. And so from all of us to the three of you, thank you so much for taking this on.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for the feedback. Getting around to each one of you and getting your feedback was very helpful. And we appreciate it. And the new members took it very seriously as well and gave written and verbal comments. And I appreciate that. That's really jumping in and jumping on board. So that was very helpful and just trying to help clarify it and just make it easy to understand. So if that's the case, hey, public comment.
This is
Rhonda.
Rhonda.
I did have a chance to read the charter. I was out of town, so that's why you never could connect with me. And I thought it was well done. I really didn't have anything major to add to it. It's great. They did it. Everybody that worked on that did a great job. Kudos to you.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. All right. Do we have any public comments? I can't see the hands or anything. So
I'm seeing applause and thumbs up from steering committee members, but I'm not.
Okay. I know all you people want to go home on time tonight. So I don't know where this is going.
Well, I do think we talked about it enough. I think we covered it and had a lot of discussions and got a lot of information.
Vincent got a King's game. So come on now.
All right.
Okay. If that's the case, let's move to a motion for adoption.
So move, motion.
I second it. This is Rhonda.
Motion by Bishop Baker and a second by Rhonda Henderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do we have any opposed? Hearing none, it is adopted.
Great job, guys.
Amen.
So that's like being at the wedding. It's like being at the wedding and asking people, is there anyone here?
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Accomplished.
All right.
All right. So the next thing we have on our agenda is the nominations for the co-leads. And so, Pat, would you please read the paragraph that speaks to this in our charter?
Folks can read along. It is in Article 4, Officers Committee and Facilitator and Clerk of the Committee. It's under 4.1, Election of Officers / Co-Leads. I just want to say before I read this, this will take care, the election of your leads will happen annually. All right. And it's so that nobody is there in perpetuity. And so let me read this and then we will open nominations. Election of officers, co-leads. The officers of the committee are the co-leads, formerly known as chair and vice chair. At the first meeting of the new calendar year, we're a little off, committee members must elect co-leads. At that meeting, a committee member can nominate any committee member to serve in the capacity of a co-lead or self-nominate. The nominees may speak regarding their qualifications and willingness to serve and answer questions of the committee and from the public. The committee may discuss the nominations. When the vote is called, each present member of the committee may cast a single vote for each co-lead separately. Reappointments are allowed. Okay, that is where we're at. And so, Bill, do you want to open?
Let's open the discussion. Janice, can we take down the what do you call it? There you go. So we can all see each other. Thank you. All right. So as Pat said, the nominations are open if somebody would like to nominate themselves or nominate somebody else. Yes, Mark.
All right, just real fast, Bill and committee. I just wanted to mention one thing. Obviously, everyone that's on the committee gets a chance to see the meeting side of what Bill and Pat have been involved in, but I just want to give a quick snapshot just so that everyone has a full perspective. Myself and the rest of the team here at the district do usually have at minimum one other, if not two or more meetings usually during the course of the month leading up to the different committee meetings. We usually have a debrief afterwards, make sure that we're getting everything ready. We have a meeting leading up to make sure we're addressing what the committee was interested in terms of the agenda. So I just wanted to share there's a little bit more than just what you see here during these meetings tonight, where we do have, I'd say we usually average 2 or 3 minimum calls every month for a good couple hours each time. Some things are just very quick, but we usually have at least about 2 couple-hour additional meetings each month. So I just want to share that so everyone has a perspective as you're going through this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. So we would open this up for nominations and/or discussion. That's what we thought.
Bishop Chris Baker raised his hand.
Yes.
Bishop, yes, sir.
I had a question. Maybe I wasn't looking at it right. Can we nominate 2 people at the same time?
Yeah.
For co-lead and
Sure.
Okay.
Of course.
Gotcha. So I nominate Bill Knowlton and Pat Shelby.
Okay.
So,
Thanks, Chris.
so I would like to say something to that.
Wait, we have another member who's
we have a hand raised. Oh, Julio, yes.
I would like to nominate Vincent Valdez.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
And Hien also has her hand raised.
I would like to second Bishop's nominations for Pat and Bill. Just for consistency, I'm a rookie here.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Vincent?
Sorry, real quick. if there are additional nominations or not. And Vincent, as you're getting ready to respond, if you're interested or not, we will need to follow up Vincent a little bit separately with the change of address we have from you. We have some questions in terms of making sure that everything is still good to go. So I just want to share that with you, Vincent. We're going to talk separately offline. We definitely see some routes, but the new address you have that you shared with us just has some questions we want to share with you.
Yes, I'm interested in being the co-lead, and yes, I do not no longer reside in the community, but I still work within the boundaries of the community. So, and it would be an honor to serve the committee. There's something near and dear to my heart, the AB 617 process and improving the air quality within our community through the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Any further discussion or nominations? All right, so we will take a vote. Each member gets 1 vote for each chair, so there'll be 2 votes apiece. Bishop.
Which one are they voting for, Bill?
Well, they're co-leads now, so there is no difference.
Wait. We have 3 names.
3 people.
We have
Right.
3 names.
We have 3 names, correct.
Yes,
So Bishop is going, each person will give 2 names.
2 names.
On who they want for on the co-leads.
Okay.
And just to
That make
confirm
sense?
with Pat, that goes along with the charter language?
Right, because that's your language in the chart.
1 vote for each co-lead.
Yes. All right, Bishop.
Okay, 1 vote for each co-lead. 1 for Bill Knowlton, 1 for Pat Shelby.
Okay, Gary
Did I do it right?
Johansson.
Gary, you aren't, oh, thank you.
Okay, I'd like to make 1 vote for Bill Knowlton and 1 vote for Pat Shelby.
Okay. Patricia Shelby.
I'll vote for you.
Okay. You
Bill?
can vote for yourself as well.
And
That's hard to do, isn't it?
It is. But I'm willing to serve 1 more year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So 1.
Rhonda Henderson.
I vote for Pat Shelby and Bill Knowlton.
Thank you. Stephanie Williams.
Pat and Bill.
Tito is absent. Vincent Valdez.
I'm going to vote for myself twice.
Okay. Vincent. Jesus Hernandez. Not here.
No.
Kian.
I vote for Bill and Pat.
Okay. Have I missed anybody? Bill Knowlton, I will serve 1 more time, and Pat. So it looks like the chairs will continue in their service for 1 more year. And our goal and our hope is that as we go forward and we have folks interested, that we will have new folks that want to take this on. It has been an honor to serve. And I know Pat feels the same way.
We're gonna work Vincent up. Vincent, we got a tag to get going.
Exactly. All right. So we are in business there. So the vote is called. It is tallied.
And thank you. I am honored to serve you 1 more year.
Absolutely. Janice, we are transition to you.
All right, can everybody hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, exciting stuff. Congratulations, Bill and Pat. Look forward to working with you for another year. So we are on the item of community air monitoring update. Can you guys see my screen, or am I not sharing that anymore?
No, not
Not
yet.
being shared now.
Oh, okay. How's that?
Very good.
Okay. So I'm gonna start off by first saying that the data that we're showing tonight is not intended to be a full analysis. We are getting the data. We're getting some of the information in, and we had previously shared that we were going to be providing some of this information as we go along. And so we recognize that there's going to be a lot of questions that we may not be able to have the answers tonight. But hopefully this will give you some insight on what some of the data looks like in the community. So.
And Janice, if I may just add to that real fast, as Janice already said, this is really sort of the start of the discussion on data. By the same token, anytime you start dealing with data, it can almost become its own little black hole. So certainly as we are hearing questions from the members of the committee, and and the committee and the community, we'll just be evaluating on what resources we have and where we can put them to best answer the most critical questions as we move forward. And with that, I just want to thank Janice and her team. They did a lot of work just even in this last month, as some of the data was just barely literally coming in the last couple of weeks. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Janice.
So I'm just going to go over some slides that some of you have seen before. Some of them may be new to new steering committee members. So just about a few background slides. And we'll start off with, what are some of the sources of air pollution? And we typically group them into four different categories. They can come from natural sources. So as you can remember last year, the wildfires, right? That's a source of air pollution. We'll call something as area sources, where there's individual small sources, but individually they may not seem as big, but collectively they may be a large amount of emissions. So an example would be a bunch of dry cleaners in an area. So individually they're smaller, but collectively they might be bigger. Mobile sources, so cars, trucks, trains, are all, can be a source of pollution. And as you all are aware of, any, large stationary sources can be a source of air pollution. One of the things that I do want to note is that we have information on all these different types of categories that you see. We keep detailed emission inventories of the different pollutions from stationary sources, area sources, mobile sources. So we're not starting from zero, so I want to start there. We do have a lot of information that we're working with, and what we're collecting in the air monitoring data is adding to that. So some terms that we're gonna hear more about, that you guys are all gonna hear more about, are specific types of air pollutants. And some that we're going to be talking about tonight is going to be particulate matter. And I like to, and that usually comes from combustion sources. A good example is something like smoke that you see, right? And then there's ozone, which is a gas. There's lead, nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxides, and then there's other types of pollutants, such as volatile organic compounds, so things that are like gases. Examples are gasoline, paints, benzene, things that you can smell. There's different metals that might be toxic, and then other air pollutants, other types of toxic air pollutants, as well as greenhouse gases, which is carbon dioxide and methane. So you'll hear more and more as we're getting into talking about air monitoring data, these type of terms. So I'm just going to throw this slide up here very quickly on some of the the air pollutants that we talked about and what are some of the sources they may be coming from. So particulate matter, you see that we've checked, on-road vehicles, off-road vehicles, power plants, wildfire, dust, and then potentially residential wood burning. So we just have this here for you so that you can refer back to it when you need to, but it goes down the list of the different types of pollutants. So as a reminder, in our community air monitoring plan, we heard a lot of concerns that you all had about air pollution in your community. And from that, we developed objectives, 4 objectives that the community air monitoring plan is hoping to address, right? The first one is, monitor for traffic-related air pollutants. One of the big concerns is that there was, a lot of traffic going in and out of the community. The freeway 99 runs through the community. What sources that you all were concerned about, and where the emissions may be coming from, and how do they impact the areas nearby. The next is determine air quality at the sensitive receptor locations, so places like schools and parks, elderly homes, and whether or not air quality changes by the seasons, right? Is it different during winter, summer, and with the locations of these sensors. And then last but not least, you all expressed that there was really a need to increase air quality awareness in the community. And how do we make this information that we're collecting easily or readily available and accessible and easy to understand for the community? And like I don't know if I mentioned, but these are all objectives that you all helped, and come up with to shape this plan. So keep that in mind. So with that, looking at those objectives, there was a 3-phased approach to monitoring. The first phase was to deploy these low-cost sensors. We have 21 sites, 22 sensors sprinkled throughout the community to increase the area coverage. Then the next phase was to develop, which is phase 2, deploy 6 standalone monitors. So you can see how it looks like there. So they're more sophisticated in trying to collect more detailed information that these sensors are collecting. And then hopefully, with those 2 data, we're going to be using that information to inform inform all of you and the committee on where do we want to put a mobile laboratory for a longer term monitor. So we're really using these 2 phases to inform where we want to put this laboratory. And then, so like I mentioned, we're going to be talking a lot about particulate matter today. And so I wanted to share what that might look like physically, right? So we have a picture that we like to use to describe how big a particle is, either the PM10 or PM2.5. So you can see that this is a strand of hair here, and that's about 50 to 70 micrograms. And so you hear that term again and again. And then there's a fine beach sand. So 1 grain of sand is about 90 micrograms. And so the particulate matter we have in the blue circle, it is typically larger particles. So that you're thinking about dust and pollen and mold. And what makes up inside that blue circle is PM 2.5 particles. Okay, so inside the blue circle is the red circles. And that's typically combustion particles. You know, they have lots of different chemicals that make up the PM 2.5. And I made this a little bit bigger here. So you can see the pink is what we call PM 2.5, the large circle. And then inside of it can contain different types of toxic metals or black carbon or other chemicals that make up what we call a larger, or call PM 2.5. Okay, so keep that in mind. So with that, phase 1 monitoring collects PM 2.5 data and nitrogen dioxide data. So we have placed 21 of these sensors throughout the community. And I believe you all have a map, a hard copy map that was sent to your residents. Hopefully we understand that it's sometimes hard to read off the screen. And so each of these areas, each of these areas represent a priority area that the steering committee decided on. So the orange area is, you know, what we'll call priority area 1. The blue area here is priority area 2. Priority area 3 is the purple area, and priority area 4 is the green area. And then we have everywhere else, what we'll call outside. This is important because the next slide that I'm going to show you is going to refer to each of these areas collectively. Okay. So what is the purpose of phase 1? One, you know, we got real-time information out into the community, right? And during the wildfire last year, community members were able to look at what the air quality levels might be at in respects to the smoke from the wildfires, right? And so that increased awareness, or the infrastructure was there to increase awareness so that people can check on the air quality data in their backyard. And also, the purpose of this is to see whether or not any one of these areas may be recording higher PM 2.5 concentration than another, right? So again, are we seeing it higher in area 1, area 2, area 3, area 4? And something to remember is that these low-cost sensors are very useful, but they might not be super precise, right? That's the trade-off. And so we're really looking at whether pollution levels are, you know, low, medium, high. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Can you all see my screen pretty well? Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna just walk you through what you're looking at. So this is a daily average, PM 2.5 data, daily average for each area. So each one of these lines is describing what the average is for the 4 areas that we talked about, right? The area 1, area 2, area 3, area 4. The lines are very small, we recognize that. But what the takeaway here is that you can see it's doing what it's intended to do, which is it's tracking the lows and the highs, right? You can see here it's when it's high, you know, they all kind of go up. When the pollution's down, they all kind of go down, right? Because, you know, we are talking about an area that may be sharing the air, right? And so we will typically see this type of behavior. What you see here, and this data, it runs from January 1st of last year to the end of 2020. So this is a whole year's worth of data. What you see here, we broke it down into winter, spring, summer, fall. The winter is the blue and it spans the bookends, the two lines here. And what you see here, where you can tell, is about mid-August, when we started seeing that really hard impact from smoke from the wildfires, we saw that the data went up, or the smoke concentrations were up, and it was able to pick that up. And so it was recording that. And then what we're also seeing is that typically in our region, in our area, we typically see higher concentrations of PM 2.5 during the winter time. And it's because our wintertime problem is mostly attributed to wood smoke. So people burning in fireplaces, right? And so we'll typically see concentrations be higher during that time, and you see that during the blue. Typically, we see lower concentrations of PM 2.5 during the spring and summer months. So you see that here. And then what I want to also call to your attention is this line here, this red line that you see going across the board. And that's the 24-hour EPA federal health standard that was set on when it does go above this threshold. That's considered unhealthy. So you can see here that, for the most part, minus the wildfire time period, we've been doing pretty good. So I'll stop there to see if there's any additions, questions. Mark, did you want to add anything?
Yes, thank you, Janice. I'll just add just a couple things real quick. There's a couple other observations that jump out at me as being an Air District person, is that for the most part, this is, granted, these are averages for each of your 4 areas that you had identified as priorities in your community. But even the individual sensors sort of pan this out as well, is you notice these lines pretty much overlap. They pretty much fall right on top of one another. We see a little bit of difference more in December of 2020. You'll see, I think it's area 4 on the coloring. Actually, excuse me, I see Gary has his hand raised, so it's covering a part of the line where I'm trying to look at the table. But for the most part, the monitors that we have down there, the 21 monitors throughout, are having very consistent readings. So at least from a PM 2.5 standpoint, what this is telling us is that what one of you experiences, all of you are pretty much experiencing. There is also the one thing that Janice didn't call, and I'll let her explain more detail if there's questions, but we do also include a reference of the Del Paso Manor clarity. Del Paso Manor is not in your community. That is typically our highest PM 2.5 station in all of Sacramento County. It's up in the Arden Arcade area of Sacramento. And we do have a clarity there as well for reference, just so you're looking at like to like. And I believe, unless I'm misseeding the color here a little bit, even when you do tend to see a little bit of a higher reading, say like in the December of 2020 standpoint, there's one line that comes a little bit higher than all the rest. It's still tracking the same peaks and valleys, but that's actually not in your community. That's actually in another part of Sacramento, just as reference. And then I saw there was a question.
Gary had a question?
Yeah, I had a question. Do we know why Arden in that area is so high?
Typically, the Arden Arcade area, we would attribute a lot of that probably even in the whole entire region, wood smoke. So like we've mentioned, almost more than 50% of the regional air quality from PM 2.5 is attributed to wood smoke. So I would suspect that there's burning potentially that's either reaching the smoke that's reaching to that area, or either coming coming from the inside or that area, or it's being transported into that community.
What does that mean, transported into the community?
So what means transporting into the community? So a good example is, say, the fires, right? It wasn't it wasn't in Sacramento, right? But the smoke that we experienced was moved from one area to our other areas in the state. So the smoke is, coming from one area to another, being moved from one area to another.
Are the majority of the sensors in that location, or a preponderance of the sensors?
Say that one more time.
Are the preponderance or the majority of the sensors in that location, the Arden Arcade region?
No. So Julio, that particular, the sensors we were showing before in terms of that map are all down in the community. Okay. Arden Del Paso is one of our regulatory stations. So it's a permanent fixed building that's been there for more decades than I care to count. And we simply have one of the same sensors we have down in our South Sacramento Flooring community is also there, just so people can see an apple to apple comparison of the low cost sensors.
Okay. Thank you. I'll follow up with more questions afterwards. Thank you.
Looks like Vincent has a hand up.
Yes, I did. I have two questions. One, so, I mean, are we sure that this could be attributed to firewood smoke, or can it be attributed to everybody using their gas heaters during the winter? Because I know there's a few people that I do know that burn wood, but there's a lot more people who have their heaters on full blast during the wintertime. And I was just curious, and that was one question. The other question is, do we have the times of the spikes? Do we know what times of the day that they're spiking?
So we cannot attribute at this point yet whether or not it is mostly from wood smoke, or is this from other type of sources like potentially traffic in the area. So at this point, we we can only tell you that it's reading, what the concentrations are reading, but as we have more as we get into collecting more specific information, like the little toxics, different type of chemicals that make up the PM 2.5, that's going to really help us understand what the emission sources are.
Janice, and I would just add to that real quick. Vincent, everything Janice said is 100% there. We did do another study, a wood smoke toxic study a few years ago, spread across much of Sacramento in 6 different areas. And that study did try and differentiate other sources of PM from wood smoke. And that study did indicate, though, that usually it's wood smoke is what we're seeing cause these spikes in general, in a generalized sense.
Can I add a quick comment, though, to Vincent's question? So Janice technically is correct. We have not done a fingerprint analysis to tell you precisely whether these spikes corresponds to smoke from the fires. However, if you look at the magnitude of the increase in the pollution concentrations, it takes a huge source of a smoke to give you these spikes. So putting 2 and 2 together, the fact that you see these increases when the fires were impacting the area is why we make an educated guess that the reason you see this level of pollution is because of what was happening to the east of us.
With the levels being that high, correct?
Correct. You cannot get these high a level with casual sources like heaters or vehicles. I mean, these are significant increases that historically only happen when you see something like as big as a fire. And the reason we can say that is obviously fires happen all over the place. And when you see concentrations in other areas of not only the state, the US, and the world, you see these kinds of spikes. These are huge increases. So it takes a big source of particle pollution.
Gary had his hand up.
Yeah, I was wondering if you determined if the sensor over at Stone Lake Elementary was functioning properly last year.
Which one?
The one at Stone Lake Elementary School?
Is that Raymond Case?
Oh, excuse me, Raymond Case.
Okay. Yeah, we ended up putting a second monitor there to check whether or not that particular sensor was failing. And remind me if I'm wrong, David, that particular sensor did indicate that there may be some sensor discrepancies. Am I correct, David?
Yeah. So during the wildfires, we did see higher concentration readings at that sensors, but looking at like the other time of year, it seems to trend with the other sensors as well. So we're like Jan said, we have another clarity out there to see, you know, how comparable they are. I think it's been out there for couple months now. So we'll evaluate that again to see if that's malfunctioning or if we want to just put out a new sensor out there.
Just want to note it's a 7:18, so in terms of our timing.
So I'm going to go through a few more slides, and maybe we can hold some questions also to the end to help facilitate that. So this site looks very similar to this last graph that I showed you, right? But what we're showing here is the maximum site at each area. So the four areas that we talked about, the priority areas and outside of the areas, we took the maximum concentration from that sensor in each of those areas and plotted those to see what do they trend with each other, just sensor to sensor. And so what you can see is, you know, we're still tracking the same trends like we were talking about. And then we do have some, David, remind me, this orange.
Raymond Case.
The orange line is Raymond Case. And so Gary, you were right where you're seeing, you know, very high concentrations, but you can see that the peaks were, you know, it's going up when everybody's going up and it's going down, you know, the highs and the highs and the lows and the lows. And, you know, because of, you know, potential smoke impacts and, you know, where the wind is blowing, it may be that they were experiencing higher concentrations. But again, those happen mostly during the wildfire season. And then I have something covered. And then the purple line that you see is the reference site. So the more prominent reference site that you see is from our Del Paso Manor Arden Arcade, which is not in your community. But we wanted to show, you know, for the most part, they're tracking pretty close to each other. Okay. This next slide is a quick look at the number of days that registered for each sensor that had air quality unhealthy days, air quality unhealthy days for sensitive groups or higher. So you might all be familiar with, you know, the different color codings, right? Our air quality index. So that's, you know, the green, the orange, yellow, purple, red. And what you see here, we only mapped the unhealthy for sensitive groups and higher. And on the left here, what you see is the Arden Arcade area, the Del Paso Manor Clarity. So if you're going to be comparing apples to apples, it would be this line here to the rest. And so what you can see is that for the most part, we didn't hit any unhealthy days in any of the sensor sites. And there was one additional number of one higher day that was recorded in District Council 16 site. And that one is in area 1, I believe.
And Janice, the slide says this, but this does exclude the wildfires. Because obviously during the wildfires, we had days that were unhealthy across the county,
right.
Not normal situations, but this is minus the wildfires.
Okay. So that's all I have for the phase 1 sites. I'm going to quickly talk about some preliminary high-level results that we're getting from the phase 2. So just a reminder, phase 2 is 6 monitoring sites that looked at species of particulate matter. So, you know, the different types of metals, so these orange dots here. We looked at, we collected gaseous chemicals that we're not going to be talking about tonight, or black carbon. We're going to be focusing on the PM. And the purpose of this phase 2 is, again, to help us identify which 4 of those areas is registering higher levels of concentration to inform our phase 3. So this is just a quick site of, or a quick slide on where the 6 sites are at. On your hard copy sheet, it is the gray dots. So you can see one here, you know, here, 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 and here. So the preliminary results that we're seeing from phase 2, and I want to start off that the data starts from mid-August to December. So we have about 20 sample days, so not all of the days that we've hoped to collect yet. With that information, currently we had 2 sites, which is the VW Post, which is the site here, and Impact Church. And remind me where that is, David?
Impact Church is
it's across from Countryside Park, next to across the street from Sam's Club on Calvine Road.
So right here in priority area 1 and priority area 2. Those 2 sites each had 1 sample day that was higher than the federal standards during the days that were not impacted by wildfire. Again, this is you know, wildfire impacted everybody in the region, so we really wanted to see absent of those type of events. All sites had an average concentration below the federal health standards for lead. And what we found was that the VFW Hall had the highest average concentration for PM 2.5 and for many of the metals that we have sampled for.
And the VFW site is located at Florin Road and what is that?
Stockton Boulevard.
Stockton Boulevard.
And Gerber.
Right off of 99.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Is it Gerber Road?
No, not that far out. No, it's really probably closest to the Florin Road Home Depot, just on the other side of the creek. There, behind the auto glass location. So, so yeah, that it can really be being hit by the heavy traffic on Florin Road as well as 99.
With that, that's all we had to share from our preliminary look at the data. So with that, we'll take any questions. Well, actually, what's a time check, Ariel? Can you give me a time check?
Yeah, it's 7:26, and we had a steering committee and then public for this. So how do you all want to handle your timing?
Let's go through the steering committee questions at this time and then public questions.
Right. So additional steering committee members?
Ian had a question.
I put my question in the chat. I'm wondering how often are the sensors kind of checked and what against so that it's producing, you know, accurate results. Just, I mean, I live close to Raymond Case and that orange spike was kind of troublesome. And I'm wondering, besides, I think what Janice mentioned, how do we know that accuracy is, you know, maintained?
Hey, Ian, this is Mark. I was right in the process of responding, so I deleted my response here real quick. For these low-cost sensors, there isn't anything we can do on the calibration of them. That's the good and the bad about the low-cost sensors, is they're sort of a drop and go. But like the Raymond case, if you see anything that seems unusual to you, let us know. That's actually something Gary had done for us previously. We don't really have a lot of spares. We don't have any, but we have like, maybe one or two. So we can do like what we did there is we bring a different one there. Don't take out the other one because maybe it is accurate, and just sort of have them side by side for a short period of time, see if we're seeing consistent data. If not, if there is something inconsistent, then we can always try sending it back to the manufacturer and seeing if we're still in warranty, et cetera, those type of things. But it's more like if you see something odd, let us know and we'll see what we can do to check.
Thank you. How do I know if it's odd or comparatively? That's what my other question.
So
what was pointed out to us before was when we're just looking at the numbers, just checking them randomly across other ones, that one's numbers were just different and higher than the rest. That's what pointed it out to us. So we're looking at it in comparison to others.
Thank you, that helps.
And we had Vincent and then Bishop Chris.
Yes, I was interested to find out, and it looks like from your last page that maybe the VFW Hall or the Raymond Case Elementary School would be good locations for our phase 3 monitors. Is that what we're concluding from what we're getting so far?
So we are still, there is an indication. I'm very careful in what I'm saying. There is an indication that those sites are collecting higher concentrations, but that there are information that we need to look as a whole. So, the other gas, the black carbon, the gas that the gas canisters that we haven't brought back forth yet, that information I think should be looked at it as a whole with the community, because there could be from different sources. So gas concentrations may be from a different source than what PM is what PM would be emitting from. Does that make sense, Vincent?
He's nodding his head, I think.
Yes, thank you.
Great. Go ahead, Bishop.
On the VFW Hall, are we talking about the one on Stockton and Orange, or is there another one behind that little street that goes behind Home Depot in Florence?
David, do you know the answer to that?
Yeah, I think it's the one on Stockton Boulevard, right next to.
Yeah, on Orange Avenue.
That's correct, Bishop.
Yeah. So Pat, is there another one over there by Home Depot?
No, you're good.
Okay.
I'm thinking of the Legion.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say that would that be part of the pollution over there? Because you have that big homeless encampment right there on coming off Florin. 99 of Florin, and at night they burn cardboard and things like that. So I was wondering that could be part of the solution, but now that it's the one on Stockton, good.
So Bishop, were you asking or did you answer your own question there?
Oh no, I'm good now because we figured out it's the one on Stockton and Orange.
That's what I thought. Great. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Other members of the steering committee, questions or comments? And if not, we check in with members of the public, questions and comments. So once again, if you go down to the bottom of your screen, depending on the version of Zoom, you would either click participants to get a raised hand, or you might click reactions over to the right to get your hand raised.
So, a comment, Vincent had also said that there is a auto dismantler near that area as well, near the VFW. So those other readings that we get in future that tell us more about the more detail is going to be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
understanding the sources.
So Bishop Chris raised his hand. I don't see any members of the public raising their hand.
Yeah,
Bishop
that
Chris.
the auto dismantler he's talking about, they have been shut down. It's no longer there.
Thanks.
Well, there's
Bishop.
a new, there's going to be, just for future reference, that for that auto dismantle, there is a new group that is coming in and purchasing. But yes, it had been shut down for quite a while. There is a new vendor that's coming in right now. Should not have impacted those readings though.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay, so we have Victoria.
Hello, I was just wondering if these results are on the website right now, or is there a way we can share this presentation?
Yes, the presentation is posted onto our website.
Great, thanks so much.
Thanks, Victoria. So it looks like with that, anybody else? If not, Janice.
Is it me again?
It looks like it.
All right. I think, okay. So our next item is the Community Air Monitoring Plan Outreach Subgroup discussion.
Janice, before we move on, are you going to bring back more specific information about the monitoring data at a certain point, or is that not clear yet?
We will have that discussion when we talk about the next few months.
The agenda topics. Great. Okay. Great. Sorry. Go ahead.
So for those who were with us when we were developing the camp and we were talking about what are some of the outreach strategies and what target, what priority target groups, audiences that you all identified, and the strategies to reach those audiences, there was a large interest to dive into, specific details on, how we can get this information out. And one of the ways I think the steering committee had come to was that there was going to be a subgroup that was going to help with I want to say finalizing or helping come up with more specific strategies after the fact. And so this is the context of this particular discussion, as well as in the last meeting, steering committee members have also shared with us that this was a particular interest on how to create awareness within the community. And so we had made specific commitments in the camp on how are we going to track whether or not we've been successful. So, so I'll actually start here first, which is objective D, to increase air quality awareness in the community by making information readily available, accessible, and easy to understand. And so we made very specific commitments, but I don't know, we had a crystal ball or something like that back then when we were developing the plan. We gave ourselves some flexibility to remain flexible as access, resources, and the changing of needs within the community, especially due to unforeseen circumstances. And so one of the things that we had committed to in the camp was to engage in at least 6 community events within 12-month adoption of the camp. And unfortunately, due to COVID, many of these events are canceled, right? These in-person events have been canceled. And so what are some of the ways that we can continue to engage with our community absent of these in-person community events? The second thing that we the second thing that we also talked about back when we were developing the camp was how do we evaluate whether or not we were successful in doing our public outreach? And one of the ideas was to conduct a polling of community members to see whether or not we've increased that public awareness. And I put a little check here and I kind of glossed over it. Those were the 3 things that we've committed to. And one was to provide air quality data through the district's website and CARB's AQView team. We've been able to do that. So we've been streaming that data to CARB, and we've been having that data through our district's website. So today we're going to be focused on this discussion. Will be focused on, if you guys all still desire, creating a subgroup to address some of these outstanding questions on how we move forward. So this is a quick slide just to remind everyone about what the steering committee identified as tools and priority audiences to communicate the results. So for these different priority audiences, there were specific communication tools that you all identified that would be most effective, and what type of information should we communicate. And so that's in the camp in table 14-1, if you guys all wanted to go back and review that. And then the next one, and I'm going to pass it back to the chairs to facilitate this discussion. But like I mentioned, there is a hope from the steering committee to create a subgroup to address some of the things that I talked about. And these are just ideas, like what are some of the tasks, what are identifying challenges, providing recommendations, who would be leading the subgroup, members of the subgroup, and any deliverable timeframes that the steering committee would expect from the subgroup, like they did with the charter subgroup. So with that, I'll pass it on to Pat and Bill.
Hey, Bill, did you want to?
Go ahead.
So folks, we have some unique challenges, certainly in our early discussions. And if you saw the prior page we were looking at, our initial discussions really centered on community events, which we now cannot do under our COVID restrictions. And we'll have some challenge until the immunization through vaccination has grown a bit. But a large part was also using our community schools, and the schools have been out and unable to meet. So we do need a subgroup to come together again. I would think that probably at least 3 people trying to come together, review what we have built and made recommendations. What can we do to go forward? We certainly cannot violate or endanger ourselves or others in doing this process, but we need to start to do this. Do we have any recommendations from you, the committee members, as to how we should move forward with this?
Pat, are you asking for volunteers to be on the committee?
I'm looking for volunteers and recommendations as to how to proceed.
I'd like to volunteer.
Okay.
Be on the subcommittee.
Rhonda
And
Dickerson.
Rhonda, we've got, and then Vincent raised your hand.
Yeah, I received in the mail a survey form from Valley Vision, and it was really neat, and it was really interactive. And if we could do something like this is one way of getting through the COVID outreach. And they offered me $5 for every time I responded to the survey. And I don't know if we have money in the budget like that, but there are ways that organizations and people are reaching out to the community through the Zoom process and through these surveys in the mail. I mean, I'm going to respond, and I'm just curious to find out how many people actually responded to this. And it's in different languages. And we would need a committee to come together to do something like this. And I will definitely forward this to you, or we could ask Adrian if you can give us a copy of their template. And so there are things we can do to reach out to the community. And looking at our new charter, I'm just
We're losing your voice, Vincent.
I want to move to where we get the positive behavioral changes in our community, and that's what's in our charter. And I'd like to see how we're going to do that. And this is just one way. And so I'd like to volunteer to be on that committee as well. If we form one, I think it's a great idea to form one. Thank you.
So
thank you, Vincent.
There is a way that we could still reach the schools, because I've used it for our neighborhood association. They have a network where they can email parents. And they won't give us the emails of the parents, but the families, but we can make flyers or surveys or whatever we deem necessary to provide information and to get feedback.
That's wonderful, and I think that might be a good reason for you also to be on that committee. And do we have any other persons interested in? I've said Rhonda, I've heard Vincent. Any others?
Vincent.
Just one more person.
Could you tell I was thinking about it? Like, how do I overcommit? Do I overcommit? Yes, I would love to.
Yeah. Okay. And was that Vincent? Did you put Ian's name?
Yes, he did.
I think he could spot. I was thinking about it.
Very good.
Okay.
And this subgroup is going to come back. All the group is going to have responsibilities to carry these things out, right? But we need the subgroup to come back and find those great ideas, what those recommendations are, so that we can be able to do this. So if I have 3 people, I have Rhonda, I have Vincent, I have Ian. And
just a question for the group. I don't know if the chairs have an idea or something for the group to consider too, whether you guys may think of lots of different ideas, but you may want to prioritize what you think are the most impactful ideas and then bring those back as a recommendation to the steering committee.
Yeah.
Right.
So they'll do that. And Rhonda?
Yes.
Would you be the organizing lead for this group?
Okay.
And folks, you guys can determine your meeting or how you want to go about. You might have a little Zoom with each other or some kind of little meetup. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm working on a support document for subcommittees, so I'll get that to you all soon.
Pat, I think we need per our new charter, we need to have an official vote to form this subgroup.
We will. Are there any other recommendations? If we have any other ideas, then it's our responsibility to contact Rhonda to share that with her. Okay, so she can take it to the group or the committee as well. If we've run into something that we thought was effective for doing this. All right. Do I have a motion?
I had a question.
Oh, question. I'm sorry, I can't see you.
Is this only for committee members, or can people from the public join the working group?
We can have folks from the public join the working group. Okay. This is not a this is a brainstorming and get things done. Best ideas, best energy. So yes.
What I might just add to that, Vincent, if I may real quick, is the subgroup members themselves are just committee members because that's a subgroup of the committee. But to the extent the subcommittee wants to involve others for ideas and input, by all means.
Thank you.
All right. We need a motion to formally form our community outreach subgroup.
I make a motion to form a community outreach subgroup.
Stephanie makes the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Bishop Baker. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the subgroup is formed. Rhonda Henderson has agreed to take the lead, and 2 other members have volunteered to participate. And thank you so very, very much. Now, do we need some kind of time frame? At the next meeting, can you give us any kind of report back as to your success or activity, your plans? Okay.
Okay, I think that's doable.
All right, and then as a report back, I see that Victoria from Sac Tree, invite me to your subgroup meeting, please.
Okay.
Rhonda.
Okay.
And that's Victoria at sactree.com. And while you're at it, contact Victoria and pick their brain. I've sat through Sac Tree, and I'm sure she's willing to share, but they've come up with some very creative ways to do some outreach at the Sacramento Tree Foundation as well. That could be helpful to us.
And I think other folks are adding in their names too. So maybe we can get those to Rhonda after the meeting.
Okay, that would be good.
Okay, we will capture those. And I see Juan Garcia Sanchez is interested as well.
Okay.
All right. Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone, with that. Bill, where are we in the agenda now?
We are
new business and
outreach,
future agenda.
new business and future agenda topics. Janice?
Yes. So before I move on to my next slide, I want, I believe, Jaime Lemus, are you on? You wanted to make an announcement?
I am on. Good evening, steering committee members. This is Jaime Lemos with the Sacramento Air Quality. And just 2 brief announcements. Actually, one is a request and the other is an announcement. We are asking the steering committee if there are 1 to 2 volunteers to help participate in our development of solicitations for our incentive programs, which we'll be putting out very soon. We're looking at around $18 million of project funding that will be going out into the Sacramento region. And so if there's 1 or 2 volunteers to help, formulate that process, and there's already lots of guidelines that kind of direct the project types, but there are some criteria that we develop, looking at location, looking at type of vehicles and organizations as priorities. So that's the type of development that we're looking for, and so or input. So if there's 1 or 2, I know that there was a lot of volunteering earlier, and I was like, okay, great, this is going to be a good thing. So if there's 1 or 2, happy to take down 1 or 2 names.
I think
I'll volunteer for that.
I think I volunteered earlier. Can I be?
I did too. That's what I was going to ask. Are you asking for additional volunteers? I think was this a previous discussion that we had? So additional?
Yes, this is additional. And just to kind of give you the time involvement, it would probably be at most 3 meetings within the next 1 to 2 weeks. Each meeting would probably be about an hour.
Okay. I'll confirm my volunteer.
And that was who, I'm sorry?
Stephanie Williams.
Stephanie? And then Bill?
Yes, I'll gladly help out.
And I think I volunteered previously. This is Rhonda.
And Rhonda? Perfect.
And this is Vincent Valdez. I volunteered previously as well.
Quite a lot of interest here.
No, that's great. That's really good. No, thank you. I'll definitely reach out to all 4. And then also to the announcement, of course, is, that we'll be putting out about $18 million, hopefully a little bit more, into the region. And so this is the development of solicitations for call for projects. So as the community starts putting projects together, as fleets start beginning to look at how they're going to replace some of their older diesel equipment to zero emission, this is the opportunity for that. So we'll be sending out also an email for the solicitation announcement. And then we'd also like everybody to share that with the business groups, your employers, your friends, and everybody else.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jaime. And if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to Jaime. Okay, so planning for the next meeting, March and April agenda topics. There was lots of ideas that were thrown out last month. And so we wanted to have a discussion today with the committee members on where you would like for us, where you would want to hear more about for the next March and April meeting. So you'll see the list of things that, the list of ideas that the committee has come up with. There's only about 90 minutes available for topics in each meeting, right? Because we go through all the updates, public comments, and administrative stuff. And we brainstormed about some ideas on what the time commitments would be for each of these agenda topics. And you'll see here that I wrote that there's the air monitoring phase 3 discussion, phase 3 location discussion will happen only April at its earliest. And so we still need some time to go through the data and information. And so that's the earliest I think we'll be able to bring back any information. With that, I'll leave it to the chairs and Ariel to facilitate this particular discussion.
I want to mention that American Cancer Society had an excellent presentation that I heard through Valley Vision and their luncheon in December. And we have invited Dan Westling to make the presentation, and it's targeted about our area, but it talks specifically about the questions that we've been asking about what are impacts to health of air pollution and how that may relate. It's very good for us to go out and tell people, hey, you know, PM 2.5 or PM 10 is, but if we can't translate that to what it means to their bodies or to their children's breathing, that may be all for naught. So the invitation was extended to make that presentation and include time to make time for questions as well. And his availability is in March.
Okay.
And
so that
Pat,
leaves
if
us
I
60 minutes.
Excuse me?
That leaves us 60 minutes, give or take, for other items.
Yes, for presentations, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's
Mark,
great. That's great news.
Mark here with the district, just real quick, not advocating one way or the other. I did get an email from city and county in terms of following up with us, just if and when the committee would like to hear more about their planning process. They do have, in the latest email I did get from them, they did mention that they're advancing on some electrification ordinance, that their transportation team is moving forward on their visioning process in the next 1 to 2 months. Their blueprint will be kicking off this spring, among other things. So just from a timing standpoint, certainly no later than April, but probably even this next month would probably be good time frames to interact with them. But that again is up to the committee. I just want to share the timeframes that they just sent me in the last couple of days.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. And then Vincent had your hand up.
Yes, I was looking at the American Cancer Society presentation of 30 minutes. Maybe they could have some links for us and maybe consolidate it and make it a little bit smaller. So that just seemed like a large presentation during one of our meetings. And also I wanted to maybe add the tag, since now that we have some clarity on how our subgroups are going to be operating through our new charter amendments, maybe I would like to be able to present something on the tag at our next meeting, which would be in March. And that would probably be a 10-minute presentation at the most. Maybe 10 minutes with presentation and discussion.
I would agree with Pat that I think that American Cancer Society presentation is important. And I think if we cannot show people why this is important, then I think that it's, again, problematic. So I am in favor of that. I think it just brings it home for folks. You know, if we did 30 minutes, maybe including questions and answers.
Yeah.
But I think we have to be, you know, this is kind of the why we're here, and I think that it needs to be, you know, well presented.
I agree with that. I think that was part of the discussions that we had previously about being able to articulate the effects of the poor air quality, and to be able to have some type of method to discuss that away from so many of the technical terms and discussions that we have. And so I believe that they'll have a very condensed and a very applicable way of helping us to provide that information to the community. So I'd like the presentation and links as well.
Hey,
You know, a combination. And so I don't know what that looks like, but, and then maybe even with that, so that we would be better prepared and have some questions, if they were able to forward some things ahead of time so we could review, so we would have more of an opportunity while we had while we had their audience, that we would be able to ask some more questions versus just hearing it for the first time off the cuff. I don't think that we would be able to formulate all of the questions that we have, or we may not be able to address it in the time. So I think a combination of both would be very beneficial.
I will, I can forward that request and see what he can do. And if there are some areas that we specifically have some questions that I can forward to him to be prepared to respond to.
Yeah,
that could work both ways. But I will ask. I don't know. He is the regional director, so he's Hawaii, Guam, California, and the Pacific Coast.
So we'll see what can work out on that. Just we're getting up towards 8 p.m. Any other steering committee members like to express interest in any of these topics?
I just wanted to do a follow up with Vincent. Vincent, I think that the outreach group can do a report back, and the tag could do a report back, because basically you're going to be bringing us up to speed. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
And if we do that, so it's short, and between the two of you, you guys both take about 7 minutes to do it. We give you like a 10-15 minute window.
Yes.
Okay, so we're looking at the outreach, the tag, hopefully the Cancer Society, and what else am I missing there?
You had talked about bringing us back to the collaborative decision making, because we're going to be breaking up into subgroups about that training. Where are you in what's your ability to bring anything back to us? And would it be better in April, or is March? That discussion we had.
Yeah, so I'm going to get distribute sort of a cheat sheet so for members who are on subgroups, just as far as running meetings as background. But in terms of the training, I mean, I can provide you all whatever you want at whatever time. I think our last month's discussion was, why don't we wait until we finish the round of recruitment so we have all of our new members, but I'm adaptable to whatever your wishes are.
Okay, so that our last recruitment should be bringing people on board by our April meeting. Am I correct, Mark?
Was it March or April?
March or April, or what?
I believe by March.
By our March meeting. Okay. So
So does that leave us time for the city and county planning presentations, Mark?
It just depends on if you're doing Ariel's piece in March as well, then I think you've just used up all 90 minutes. If Ariel's piece is not happening until a subsequent meeting, then there would be time for probably either both or some combination thereof of the city and county.
Okay.
And I also mentioned I could break mine into little segments too and make it digestible.
Is it better to wait until we have the other folks onboarded? Ariel, you're okay. You think yes?
Yes.
So why don't then I would suggest we do the city, county, the TAG, the American Cancer Society. What am I missing?
The camp
subgroup. Right, and do that, and then in the subsequent meeting have the training when we have all members on. Does that make sense to everybody? And that makes our 90 minutes pretty good.
That sounds good, so that we can have a full-throated discussion and understanding.
Okay.
So I will confirm with the city and county. The last email I got from them, it sounded like that will work. I will just verify with them.
Okay.
Right. We'll probably have to cut down some of it because we're at 105 minutes, so about 15 minutes over. But we'll work out the specifics to that.
Right.
Right. I think, and Vincent had put up a question about what the pre-SERP. I think the American Cancer Society issues are also, along with what we're starting to get back with our data as to what our pollution data is meaning. That's probably going to be easier for us to deal with in April. So we have what groups we're going to be forming around what issues.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's my feedback for now.
Okay. I think we have a plan.
Okay. Public
Okay.
comment.
Public comments. Any members of the public? Once again, down at the bottom of your screen, either reactions or participants will get you a raised hand, or if you're on the phone, you can dial 9 to raise your virtual hand button.
Star 9.
Star 9, sorry. Thank you.
Right. Anyone?
Not so far.
Okay. Otherwise, all right. I think we have met all of our talking points for the day. Bill, do you want to wrap?
Let's wrap it up. It is 8:05. Thank you again for all of your time and your commitment to our community. Your service is so meaningful and means a lot to everyone here. Have a good rest of your evening, and we will talk soon.
We have a motion to
adjourn. Do we need a motion?
Have motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second. All right.
Those in favor, aye. You started this whole thing now.
Have a good evening.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Meeting adjourned.
Bye.
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 Welcome to our new members.
Oh,
Yeah.
welcome.
Welcome, new members.
Thank you.